Hi, my name is Thomas Wright, and this is my self-reflection and peer review submission for Assessment Task 3 for Water and Environment Design. As I'm currently working as an undergraduate water engineer, I was extremely excited and enthusiastic to be undertaking this subject to further my existing knowledge and gain a greater understanding of the application of environmental engineering concepts and water design solutions. I had some experience working on environmental reports, such as a review of environmental factors report, which examines the likely environmental impacts from a proposed construction design and the potential engineering solutions which can be adopted to mitigate any adverse effects. However, in these reports, I generally have taken a broader look at all types of impacts, including water quality, sediment quality, air pollution, ecology, and Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal heritage impacts. Subsequently, I was very excited to be working on a cultural heritage impact assessment, which looked specifically at assessing the cultural and heritage impacts of the proposed sewage treatment plant to the local Maori population and the broader community. Initially, for the CHIA assessment, I was quite stressed trying to navigate the community's concerns regarding the impacts of the proposed facility and understanding the relationship between the key cultural and heritage significant values of the community with the New Zealand legislative and planning requirements. Because of this, I initially struggled to piece together the problem at hand and come up with an effective approach to the assessment. By taking the time to individually look at each component of the assessment and the information provided, I was able to clearly understand the objectives of the CHIA assessment with relation to the project and the interconnectedness between the community's cultural heritage values and the relevant environmental management legislation, and subsequently begin to identify and assess the potential impacts of the proposed design by considering the concerns raised by the community. In the heritage, values and significance section of my report, I try to demonstrate this understanding by explaining each of the key values and their connection to the New Zealand legislation. Whilst undertaking my research for the assessment, I decided to look back over my subject notes from the water supply and wastewater engineering subject to gain a further understanding of the existing and proposed treatment plant design, particularly for the anaerobic, flacculative, and maturation ponds. I also spoke with a wastewater engineer within my company to reinforce my research and to discuss potential engineering solutions for the recommendations section. One design solution which we discussed included the use of fine bubble diffusers within the proposed aeration system to increase treatment efficiency and subsequently reduce energy consumption, which is one of the concerns of the community. Amongst other recommendations, I decided to propose community engagement and education programs as a viable way to promote community participation and break down community barriers to ensure any future concerns can be quickly addressed. Whilst I was really proud of the mark I had received for the first assessment task, there was clearly still room for improvement. The detailed feedback which was provided gave me the opportunity to learn from my mistakes and improve my overall report writing style. Key areas of improvement included the need for more citations to better support my arguments and clearly relating the proposed design recommendations to the cultural values and concerns addressed by the community to ensure my design better meets the requirements and needs of the local community. Going into the second assessment task, I was keen to take the lessons I learnt from the first CHIA report, as well as the theory and knowledge gained from the lectures throughout the semester. After initially conducting my own research into effluent irrigation systems, I decided to approach one of the water engineers at work and question him on the applications and key design considerations of effluent irrigation systems. In addition, to ensure I had a correct understanding of the assessment objectives, I decided to email the subject coordinator my design strategy, including my assessment of the proposed alternative crops and the manner in which I was going to assess the upgraded STP design against the future projections for the next 25 years, which I looked at in Task 1. Overall, I was really happy with how I decided to structure my effluent irrigation report, how I addressed each of the project objectives, and how I approached the design in a logical manner. One of the key decisions I made was to make design option 1 my base scenario, which was the council preferred forage grass, and compare my results for the existing STP design with 2 alternative crops. Once I determined the most effective crop, I then assessed it against the upgraded plant design for the community's current needs and the next 25 years. I chose to structure my design in this manner as this is how I'd like to approach an engineering design problem within my professional career. I was given the opportunity to review 2 cheer reports from my peers within the subject, which I found thoroughly interesting as it allowed me to understand how other students approached the task. The reports which I assessed were Cheer 2 and Cheer 8. Cheer 2 was a very well written and structured report with a clear understanding of the project objectives and the purpose of the Cheer report. This report has multiple in-text citations which helped support their arguments in the environmental and cultural impacts section. Similarly, Cheer 8 was also well written and formatted, and I particularly enjoyed the executive summary which set the tone of the report quite nicely. The key cultural values were broken down into a thought-out and concise manner. Both reports proposed design solutions were innovative and appropriate to the project. They both proposed a slow-rate effluent irrigation system which achieved the Tribal Council's baseline policy of no direct discharge into Ammo Creek, which ended up being the adopted solution in Assessment Task 2. Unlike Cheer 2, Cheer 8 recommended an increase of the design population growth rate to 3% over the next 25 years, which is more in line of the national average and effectively addresses communities' design population concerns. The 2 effluent irrigation design reports which I reviewed were EID 15 and EID 20. I felt EID 15 had a well-written executive summary which clearly defined the objectives of the report. However, personally, I think an exceptional executive summary must be able to effectively communicate the key findings of the report, including the recommended crop design, total required area, and required storage volume, which isn't shown in EID 15. Overall, I think the report formatting was okay. However, the climate data table had been incorrectly pasted into the report. One major concern with this report is that it doesn't provide the required irrigation area and required storage volume for the Council's preferred option of forage grass. It only talks about the methodology for calculations and then proceeds to discuss the alternative crops. As the fundamental objective of the task is to first assess the existing sewage treatment plant design with effluent irrigation for the Council preferred crop, it is absolutely essential that the calculated irrigation area and storage volume is reported. In comparison, whilst it was clear that report EID 20 had a clear understanding of the role and benefits of effluent irrigation for sewage treatment, the overall structure and formatting of the report was lacking, with no title page provided, and the background section failed to mention the fact that the main reason for this technical report was because the EPA had denied Council's application for a discharge permit renewal due to the adverse cultural and environmental impacts associated with the continual discharge of effluent into Ammo Creek. In addition, EID 20 does not provide a detailed discussion of the regulatory requirements which need to be adhered to in the design, including the fundamental need for the design to not exceed the maximum land area of 115 hectares or the relevant legislation acts and environmental management plans which were outlined in the Cheer report. I did like the comparison table which shows the nitrogen and phosphorus uptake between the crops. However, 2 of the 3 crops which were suggested were seasonal crops. My understanding of the assessment criteria was that green chop harvesting was planned, making downtime for harvesting not necessary. Both reports successfully recognised that the Council nominated crop was insufficient for the irrigation system and effectively compared several appropriate design alternatives. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed undertaking this subject, and I felt I have gained a lot of valuable knowledge and lessons learned, which can be applied throughout my remaining university subjects and growing career in water and environmental engineering. I really enjoyed the teaching style and appreciate the amount of detailed feedback which was provided for both assessment tasks. Both written reports have profoundly improved my confidence in preparing engineering reports, both cultural heritage impact assessments and technical design reports. Thank you.